different continents, 16 languages, and that alone was so excellent. I'm like, oh, I'd be here just to be around these people. We had like corporate organizational people who were in that group flying around the world, teaching organizational development, and they got a ton out of it. And then we had, you know, crazy artist people who got a ton out of it. And they were interacting beautifully in the room. It was one of the things that was so great. And to see something become applicable for those two extremely different groups gives me confidence in process work, frankly. I mean, if it's satisfying those two groups in the same room, in the same workshop, and they are fruitfully interacting, what else do you need to know? I mean, that's just like, that's wild. And I work in the trades and I do some consulting. I work for myself, I have my own business. I first encountered process work about 22 years ago. Then a few years before I went to the intensive, I was looking for a therapist. And I was referred to one of the people here. And I was so impressed by her work that I got reinvigorated in my interest in process work. Through talking to her, came up with the idea of going to the intensive. I'd say that where I feel the change most profoundly is towards conflict, both inner and outer. Much more open in conflicts with other people. In my case, less caretaking of where they are. What a byproduct of not being aware of my psychological rank is this feeling that since I know what's going on psychologically, it's my responsibility to make it better. So I don't do that, you know, just go, oh, okay. You know, this is what's happening now. It's like, it's not some kind of catastrophe, or it's just humans working something out, and we'll work it out, it'll be fine. It's this kind of solid feeling of like, okay, cool, let's do this. And it puts other people at ease as well, to not immediately jump into a polarity with them. You know, stuff went down. I mean, it was not easy, the intensive. It's called an intensive for a reason. It was super intense, but being in intensity over and over and over again for an extended period of time with a certain group of people, with superb teachers, trains you how to be in intensity. I would wager you could put a scan on me and I spend 30% less time in fight or flight since the intensive. I bet you. I would put money on that. Yeah. The process work orientation turned me towards curiosity and openness. So if I'm having difficult feelings, if I'm having difficult inner stuff, my orientation towards that is entirely different than it used to be. Like, oh, this is feeling intense. I'm going to choose to be curious. I may not be able to go into it this minute because I'm at work, but I'm not going to forget about it or deny it or push it aside. I'm just going to let it ride, and then if I have a minute, I'm going to try to work on it. It changed my relationship with relating at any level to myself, to another person, to a group, to ideas, to sensations. Instead of constantly telling myself I know what's going on, more constantly telling myself I'm curious about what's going on. Let's look at what's going on. It makes parenting easier. Humans get intense. And, you know, there's no greater illustration of that than a 4-year-old in my life so far. Kids, I mean, I got an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. They can be super intense. And you're like, cool, all right, here we are, being intense, let's do it. It's just a whole different orientation. It gave me a much, much healthier, functional way to be in groups that involve an awareness, but also a fluid language and perspective on rank in a group, you know, dealing with gender, dealing with race. If you have power and you can acknowledge it and be conscious, you have a chance that it's not going to become a mess. But if you have it and you're unacknowledged or you're in denial of it, it's guaranteed to be a mess. Most people assume that social rank is the only rank, and that is one of 4 or 5. So contextual rank is rank that's due to the circumstances. That level of interplay and accuracy was stunning to me, and very life-changing for me. White, middle class, cis, hetero, married, have enough money, able-bodied, like, so there's that for me, right? What room am I even allowed to speak in? And how? How can I go into any context that considers itself socially progressive and not just sit in the corner and feel guilty and not say anything? I don't go where I'm not welcome. I don't take it personally. I get it. I look a certain way. I call this redneck camouflage. I'm in my work stuff, and you know, a lot of people find it frankly scary looking. The short hair, middle-aged guy, kind of heavy set, work with tools. A lot of people find that scary, and I get it. But if I'm in a group that says it wants to be inclusive and hear voices, then I have a negotiation I need to make with myself and the group. And how do I show up? But it gives me something to work with. Before I had nothing to work with. I just wouldn't involve myself in socially progressive groups because I was vilified every time. Now I have more nuance as to what groups I want to be involved with and how. It's huge, life-changing.
I think
For me, I felt like I could do 6 months worth of talking therapy in 15 minutes doing this. And that's how it feels still. And that really caught my attention. I'm in the room. My experience of it is that I don't have a system being put on me. Whereas this is like, well, where are you? Like, where are you right now? And maybe I'm more mental, or maybe I'm more fidgety, or maybe I'm tired or something. And then just go with that. And it, especially in the beginning when I was really kind of loaded down with some stuff I wanted to work on, it just always seemed to bloom into something fruitful quickly. You don't have to know why you want to come. You don't have to have a reason. There were maybe 5 people there who had no idea why they were there and had really important experiences. If there's a part of you that is not rational, that's demanding that you go, consider going.